Okay, so welcome class to the explainer videos. I feel that because of time we have four or five sessions before we can start thinking about the exam, and it was proper that we cover this through pre-recorded videos. So I'll try as much as possible to cover our manual in good time as we continue. So again, the unit of this semester is entrepreneurship skills. And just to recap on several things that we said last classes or last class, we did say that when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's all about managing and taking advantage of risk. You see an opportunity, you take advantage of it, and you make a buck out of it. That is just taking risk. But we did say further that how we perceive risk may differ, and it differs because we all have cognitive biases that are affecting the way we process information. And we said that biases are basically made up of three activities. We take all the information that we have and we generalize it. That's the first thing that we do. We delete some of the information that disagrees with us. That's another thing that we do. Or we even distort the information to mean something other than what it is meant to mean. Now, among the biases that we talked about, we had biases that affect the way we make decisions, biases that affect how we process information, and so forth. But just as a recap, we did say that the need to be right is a bias in itself, where we say when you're leaning towards business ideas that are very, very accurate, the chance of being wrong then is assumed to be the definition of risks. Therefore, to the person who needs to be right, they will define a good business idea as the business whose probability of success is very, very high. But we did say that it is very, very possible to have a business idea which the probability of being wrong is very, very low, but still lose money and close shop. And we did give examples of this. The small shops or kiosks are dependent on traffic, which means that the demand is certain. The demand is certain, as it were. You must get unga, you must get blue band, you must get barrel pens, you must get most of the day-to-day things. We do need them. So the person builds a model whereby the assumption is that everyone will need that item every day or every week or every month. So I'll just buy from a major distributor, put a markup on it, and then make a buck. But you are only in business if you can get this right many times, because the margins again are very, very small. So we did go through very many other biases. For example, we did talk about anchoring bias. We did talk about authority bias. We did talk about all these biases, and we said it would be very, very wrong to assume that human beings make rational decisions. It is also very, very wrong to assume that people make efficient decisions. Most times, people make decisions that will lose them money and will cost them a lot of money in the end. And the reason that is the case, therefore, is because of these biases that we spoke about. So most people are not rational thinkers because of biases, and they are not systemic or efficient thinkers, again, because of the inherent biases. So we did say that there is a way where you can debias yourself so that you can process information better and more systemically. That we do not need to go to. Now, after we said that most people are not rational, neither are they efficient, we did say that entrepreneurship is not for everyone. But let us first of all examine several things. Are entrepreneurs born or are they made? This is the key question that we need to think about. Are they born or are they made? Now, if we say that entrepreneurs are born, then a majority of the other people who do not have the traits that make up the best entrepreneurs or the serial entrepreneurs that we know of today, then are at loss. But if we think about the myth, one of the things that comes into play is that entrepreneurs are basically about making money, and therefore most of the ones that make money are the ones that have these inborn traits. But we did say that entrepreneurs are all about creating value, and value has nothing to do with money. Money is an after effect. Therefore, it is very, very possible to have a business, and this business is not for profit, but it is creating value to either internal customers or external customers. This is very, very possible. And if you are creating value, you do not necessarily have to have certain key inborn traits, but you can create them through time, where you feel that there is a need which you can meet and there is a skill set which you can build. Now, that notwithstanding, I did say that as much as there are certain people that seem to be cut out for entrepreneurship, there are certain skills that are important. And we did say among them is, the first one is resilience. The second one is commitment. The third one is responsibility. And we did give the fourth one also, I think I forgot to mention, this is emotional intelligence. We did say that through the various questionnaires and personality tests, that the essence of you doing the locus of control, the essence of you doing emotional test, the essence of you doing responsibility test, the essence of you doing the entrepreneurship quotient test is to show whether you have all the skills needed. But it does not mean that you will fail in business. It just means that you have some areas that you need to work on. Anyone can start a business, because businesses are about creating value and meeting a need that exists in the market. So today, let us look at it. Today I want us to talk about several things. The first thing is, what makes a good entrepreneur and what is entrepreneurship? That's the first thing. The second thing is, why is it that some entrepreneurs succeed and others fail? Now, let me just call to our screen certain statistics that have to do with entrepreneurship. Just give me a minute as I call these statistics to our screen. Just a minute. Okay, so let's look at the aspect of business from the point of statistics, because we say that statistics are everything that holds this whole thing together, and that's repetitive. But let's think of it this way. 69% of people that started those businesses from their homes or their garage. That means 7 in 10 people will not have established an ecosystem to support the business. That's the first statistic that is so important, which means then that the fallacy that you need to have a physical or establish a certain ecosystem for the idea to take off is faulty. If 7 out of 10 have started them out of their homes or even internet or even prevalidating that idea, then it means it can be done. Another very important statistic is this. Only 19% of these businesses are corporations. 12% are sole proprietorships, and another 12% are partnerships. Now, the main reason why people started their business, 51% say it was to make money in the end. But if we were to look at this statistic, if we were to take it even further, 73% of people that started businesses were of the male gender. Again, this is not to introduce the conversations about patriarchy and matriarchy or whether or not a woman is likely to succeed. It's just basically the data that we have. 73% are men, and a smaller population, 25%, are identified as female. Don't ask me where the other percent came from. Now, the age range of people that started businesses are as follows. The people that had the highest businesses were between the age of 50 and 59 years. And the assumption is that they had the capital, they had the time, and they had the resource reserve to be able to take on the risky business of starting a business. A smaller population, or between 40 and 49, this is 25% of the population. And another population, 30 to 39 years, this was a population of about 14%. And where most of you guys fall is between 18 and 29 years old, and only about 4% of the people started businesses. Now, why this is the case, the data does not say, but it does show that as you age, you're willing to take on the risk of starting a business than when you are young. Now, there are certain assumptions that come with this. Some people say that it is because that the experience that people have accrued through life shows them that anyone can try a business. But at this age over here, people come up with all types of reasons and excuses as to why the business or the idea would not take off. So if there's any takeaway from this is, just try it. It doesn't mean that it will fail. Just don't wait to get older, but just keep trying. Anyway, let's continue with education. Do you need education? What does the data say about education? This says about the age. This says about the gender. What about education? Does it mean that for you to be a successful business person, you need to have a lot of education? Let's see. Now, 33% of the entrepreneurs only went past high school. About 18% have an associate degree. About only 29% of the people have a BSc. Only about 16% has an MSc, and only about 4% has a PhD. Now, before I'm accused of coming up with suppositions that are not supported by data, correlation is not causality. Let's just first of all deal with that. So we cannot say that because 51% of the people are men, 73% of the people are men, then men should start business or they'll be successful. It does not. There's no correlation between entrepreneurial success and gender. There's no correlation between entrepreneurial success and age, and there is no correlation between education and entrepreneurial success. But there are certain key important factors to consider when we are looking at this information. Now, let's think of it this way. If only 18% of people that have started businesses have associate degrees, and this is where you are, only about 30%, that means about 3 in 10 who have a BSc started a business or started a venture or a value business or whatever you want to call it. Then 16% have an MSc, only 4% have a PhD. Then why would anyone use education as a scapegoat for not starting a business or creating a value proposition that the society does indeed have or does indeed need? Why would anyone come up with the idea that I am too young to start a business when data shows that there is no correlation between failure and success in that matter? So if for me there is any takeaway on this data, it would be one. just rubbish the idea that education is the key to entrepreneurial success. There is no data that says that. Rubbish the idea that you need to be old to be successful in your entrepreneurship. Rubbish the idea that you need to be a man to succeed in businesses. These three things are some of the hallmarks or some of what you call inefficient dogmas and myths that exist in the world today that have no basis at all. You do not need a BSc to start a business. You only need to have a very simple skill that involves identifying the risk, how to monetize that risk, and how to manage that risk so that the business can be stable and become a cash cow in the long run. So that is that data. But let's look at some other information here. So what are some of the reasons that most of the people started their businesses? Now, the largest population wanted not to be bossed around. In other words, they wanted to be their own boss. 26% wanted the freedom to not be bossed around. Now, another population here said it is their passion, a very good portion. 23% wanted to follow a passion. Then another population said, I saw an opportunity and I took it. This is just 19%. Then 12% said they were dissatisfied with corporate life. They were basically, the corporate life wasn't for them. Now, a smaller population of about 6% were laid off. They didn't have a job and they had to make ends meet. This is 6%. Others who are not ready to retire, another 6%. And the rest fall. Others started because of divorce, death, and so forth. But they account for about 3%. Now, let us make some meaning out of this. Again, causality or correlation is not causality. One of the things that we need to look at is the biggest population got tired of being bossed around, but some from research who tend to make the best entrepreneurs are these people over here. And these are the ones that are passionate about something. They are passionate about art. They are passionate about music. They are passionate about finance. They are passionate about blogging. They are passionate about traveling. They are passionate about public speaking. They are passionate about diverse things that in Kenya we just look at and think this is not something that you can monetize. But as long as the passion for something is there, it does not matter what it is. It can be a value proposition which can be a source of monetizability. I'll repeat. Anything that you can think of that you are passionate about can be a value proposition. And some of the things that these people who do things as a passion make the mistake of, they do it for free. They are so passionate about this idea that they want to tell someone and tell them, by the way, I have this idea and it's a very good value proposition, but I'll not charge you. I'll do it for free. They have a skill. They are very, very good bloggers, or they have very good content that they can create, and they want to show someone how to do it. For example, I've been doing SEO as an example. I'm very passionate about search engine optimization and so forth, and they're very good at it. But instead of monetizing that value proposition, they do it for free because they say, one, no one will pay for it. And this is the first mistake that they make. You downplay the value proposition because doing that thing to you seems so easy, so darn easy, that you decide to discount it. Discount it in what sense? To assume that no one will pay for it. That's the first thing. And the second thing is you are convinced that if anyone is likely to pay for it, they will pay it for a low price. But this is a mistake. This is a serious mistake, because if you are so passionate about something, this is your value proposition. This is your voice to the world, and this is basically your gift to the world because you're creating value, as it were. And if you were to pick an example of something, let's even assume that I'm very passionate personally. I'm just giving an example. I'm very passionate about teaching, very passionate about it. And let's assume, for the sake of example, this teaching here is my value proposition. And we think about it, think about it keenly, that if I was to assume these two things over here, no one will pay for it and they are willing to pay for it for a low price, then I am discounting the value that I will give. But the first thing that we say in entrepreneurship is kindly pre-validate, and this is so important, kindly pre-validate your assumption. Never assume that something is true just because it is happening in your head. Kindly pre-validate that assumption. In other words, if you think no one will pay for it, pre-validate it by charging it. And if you find someone, one or two or three, are likely to pay for it, then you have a value proposition which can be paid for. Now, if we were to pick me, for example, and I have this value proposition, how do I pre-validate this assumption? I can start an online course. And by starting this online course, I am not thinking about something very complex. I can even start something as simple as this class that we're having. The problem with teaching entrepreneurship class, one, would be that most of these people are doing it because they want to pass an exam. Personally, I feel cheated because entrepreneurship is so much bigger and it's just a big opportunity for so many people that I feel that teaching it in a university is doing it disservice because of this thing that we're talking about here. They just want to pass exams. They just want to get it over with and forget, set and forget. But for me, I'm very passionate about it, and I believe each and every person has what you call a value proposition. It's not, again, about making money. It's about having a value proposition which you can pre-validate. So if I was to start an online course, what are some of the things that I would tackle, or what are some of the things that I would do in that class? Partly, I would have what you call workbooks that would help students to go through. That would be different from a university setting. Another thing that I would add over here would be online videos. And since I have the tools here, I have this Blackboard software, I have the mic software, I have the video recording software, and everything is already set. In other words, I'm not paying for anything to create this course. I'm just incurring the cost. And this is something that is so important. I want you to pay attention to. The only cost for me to pre-validate my idea is I will spend time. I'll spend time in thinking about how should the course be, and what are some of the videos that I need to have, and what are some of the key workbooks that I need to have. And what I do here is I create a very simple course which I call a pilot test course. I will talk about this later in the video. A pilot test course would be something that if I know that my full course would be something of 150 videos over here, 150 videos, I only make a course that has only 10 videos. And I float it online. Maybe I can use Coursera to publish this video. Maybe I can use Edu, which has online courses. There are so many platforms that allow me to sell my courses for free. And then from this perspective, I can be able to gauge, is it true that my assumption about no one is willing to pay for it, is it true? Or is it false? And how do you know that? First of all, look at the demand that simple course is having. Of the 100 people that come, if you only get 2% converting into paying customers, then this is faulty. This, and I repeat, if 100 come and only 2% of that simple pilot product are willing to pay and that is they're willing to pay at this low price of that pilot test product, then you have a value proposition which can be monetized and which you can do at your free time and make a buck out of it. Therefore, do not think of it lightly. Each and every person is passionate about something. Each and every person is passionate about something. And how you know what you are passionate about, think of it this way. What skill do I have that I'm willing to do for free? And do not say, again, do not add something here, Kenya is not ready for this. Do not say this. Again, we are saying you pre-validate every idea so that you can check whether all these assumptions are correct. Let me give an example of assuming that Kenya is not ready. One would be this. Let's assume the skill which I have is I am an artist. And since I am an artist, I assume nobody will be willing to pay my art for 1 million shillings. We do not have, Kenya has not yet moved into that population of being art enthusiasts. We have not yet advanced to that level. But don't assume that that is true. Because in the environment where we have globalization as a phenomenon that is happening, or as a movement that is very, very possible, then that skill can reach the person who can pay this figure if you are willing to test. And the keyword here is test and try it. Entrepreneurship is not about going all in, stupid. No, don't be stupid about it. It is about testing and trying it. The people that succeed, and again we'll be seeing this data as we continue, the people that succeed in the long run are the ones that test and try, test and try, test and try. They are not the ones that actually would be going all out. They sell all their things and they liquidate their shambas and they do a capital. They take all this capital into their businesses. That's being stupid. Don't be stupid. Just test and try. And test and try is by pre-validating. And this here is what we mean by pre-validating your idea. Let me even circle this. This here is what we mean by pre-validating an idea. You are not incurring a single thing. You want to prove the concept exists. Anyway, I digress. Let me go back to the thing. What am I passionate about? What skill do I have that I'm willing to do it for free? That's the first thing. What thing do I do and I lose track of time? I do it so well, I'm so absorbed into it that I lose track of time. Is it a sport? Is it something you do online, video games? Is it something that you do, vlogging or blogging or whatever? Whatever it is that you feel that time becomes an illusion, you're just so engrossed in it, then that is something you need to look at. The third thing is, what problem are you facing and you think there is a solution? On this one over here, you need to have what you call the first person skill. In other words, I'm an architect. I love drawing. I love making architectural drawings. And I think there is a way that I can be able to do this and present this to the market and get a fee for it. Now, these three things over here are important. That's one. Two, you have, I am doing something and I just lose track of time. That's the second thing. The third thing is, there is a problem I'm facing and I think there's a solution. And this is how you can think about it. A different way of doing the same thing. I will repeat. You have a problem and you think there is a solution. But how do you think of that idea? You do not have to be so disruptive. And remember from the previous class we said, entrepreneurship is not about coming up with a disruptive thing. or reinventing the wheel. It can be doing the same thing, but doing it albeit differently. You do the same thing, but you do it differently. That is something that is so important in entrepreneurship. So we think of it that way. Now, let's see of what we mean by this, and I'll pick me as an example, Dr. Chege. Dr. Chege here. Let me look at skills that I have that I love doing. Okay, so for sports, I love playing golf. That's the first thing. I love playing basketball. That's the second thing. I love reading books. That's the other thing. And I like writing books and doing courses or teaching. Now, what thing do I do and I lose track of time? What thing do I do and I lose track of time? In other words, I'm so absorbed into it that I can do it for hours and hours and hours and hours without getting tired. I think teaching would qualify. I love it. It's a passion for me. And I think playing basketball will qualify. And I think community activities which I do in Juja, like training principals and giving to children's homes, going to disabled schools and having fun with them, and so those are things that I do, and I'm just passionate about them. I lose track of time. That's true. So what is a problem that I'm facing that I think I have a solution? What is the problem that we're facing and I think I have a solution? I can think of teaching, I can think of CSR, or I can think of these things that I'm doing over here. But part 3, I can think of it differently. What is something that we do each and every day, but can be done differently? And I want to give examples so that we do not think of entrepreneurship in such a complex way. We all think about having a dining experience, for example, that is 5-star. It's 5-star. But what if it was possible to bring this 5-star experience to each and every person without breaking bank? That is doing the same thing over here, but I'm thinking of it in a different way. All of us are trying to communicate with each other, and there's a problem with too much communication. And too much communication is this: your phone has all the things. If anything, chances are high that you're doing this class on your phone. You're just watching this thing on your phone. Your phone has your office, your phone has the email, your phone has the entertainment, your phone has your social media, your phone has everything. We are too connected, and as a people, we have come to that place where our phones are acting as a source of stressors. What if I can create a smartphone that has only 3 functionalities? We bring back the old ways, because most people are complaining it's too stressful as a way. Is it possible to have a demand for a smartphone which can only call, which can only text, and that's it? But it's a smartphone. Would that be a daft phone or a smartphone? But if I came up with that phone and I attached it into people's lifestyle, would they buy it? Again, think of it that way. It is the same thing, but in a different way. Another example of the same thing in a different way. One time I went to some place in Moranga, and partly I decided not to use my car and use the public means. It was very remote, very remote. I wasn't sure about the road terrain and stuff, so I decided to use public transportation. And so remote was it that the public system in there works differently than the way it works out here. And this is what I mean by that. Once you arrive at your destination and you want to come back to the town or Muranga or wherever, the matatus go door to door. In other words, you're picked at a certain place on the road, good, but they know there's a certain lady who goes to the market every Thursday, and today is Thursday, and they go all the way to her home, awkwardly so. It was just so weird to experience. It was so weird, yet so fulfilling, because I asked myself, would this be possible? Because you go to that woman's house and they ask, are you going today? And then she says yes, and just give her a few minutes and she boards the matatu. Then we go to another place and they ask, are you going to the market today? And the person says yes. And then you go to another house, and within 30 minutes the matatu was full to capacity. 30 minutes. And for the first time, I saw the solution to the congestion that we have in Nairobi. Because the reason why we have congestion in Nairobi is that every person is taken to bus station, every person is taken to Westi over here, every person is taken to Luthuli, Kenya Mpya stage, every other person is taken to Globe or wherever. There are certain destinations, and these destinations act as choke points because you're actually creating a lot of traffic within these areas. That was my thinking. I want you to follow my thinking. That's the first thing. The second thing is that beyond where we are going, where we are coming from, we are creating serious choke points. Juja, you have to go to flyover to pick the matatu, or you have to go to sewage, you have to go to High Point, you have to go to, and all these places, these matatus are just, they're just a bunch of shitlings that just do nasty things just to get one person to board the matatu. Forgive my French, kids. Forgive my French. But anyway, I digress. Beyond the shades that we have on this section, and this section, and wherever section, they are creating choke points within these places. So how would I do this thing of picking up? How would I do it? What if there's a way that I can do the Swavo app, but I do it in this way? I create an app whereby every apartment, and just follow my thought, every apartment creates an account with my app or whatever. Let's call it Pickup. Let's even give it a name. Pickup. Let's call it Pickup. And how it works, or the assumptions of that model, is that assumption number one, let me just give a different color. Assumption number one is that people are willing to be picked from their homes by matatus. That's the first assumption. For every business idea, think of the assumptions that you're making. That's the first assumption that I'm making. The second assumption is that matatus will be willing to do this. Will be willing to pick these people up. That's the second thing. But understand the problem with this thing. So we have the apartment over here. The apartment comes up with what you call an account, and they have various customers in the apartments. Maybe let's say they have 30 tenants, and about 20 tenants go to Nairobi, and these tenants go to different places, okay, in Nairobi. So then I have apartment 2, apartment 3, and let me assume I have 100 apartments registered under my app. There's always a probability that when this tenant clicks and says, pick me up, pick me up, there's always a probability that I can create an algorithm that can set person 1, for example, is going to Globe, person 2 is going to, let's just say, Kirinyaga Road, person 3 Kirinyaga Road, and so forth. There's a way I can create an algorithm that can give me 14 people that are going within the same area, and I allocate these people one vehicle. That's the first problem I have solved. I can create the algorithm. It's very, very possible to create the algorithm. The second thing is I can create an algorithm that tells me which is the most optimal pickup. In other words, if you have guys within Juja, then it makes sense to create an algorithm that picks Juja people at the same time and goes to K Road, and we have a matatu that has 14 people and it's all heading to the same location. But these people are not being picked from other places. They're being picked from their places. They're being picked from their apartments. And that is the value proposition. I'm not going to the stage to be harassed. I'm not going to the stage to enter matatus that play music I do not want. So therefore, I have a value proposition, and I think that app can be able to solve this problem. So we have one. I have solved the problem of pickup. That's the first thing. I've solved the problem of making sure the matatu lives with 14 people. And I've also solved, now I needed to solve the problem of, after I have dropped these people, does it make sense to come back empty? Is it economical to come back empty? Now that means I need to create certain points within the whole logistical system that I can make sure that this one matatu is optimized and used to the max. But don't forget, the value proposition is number one. People are willing to be picked, and matatus are willing to pick it. Now, if I do this, then I render these congestion and choke points useless. If I do this, I render these pickup choke points useless. And if I do that, I am able to reallocate the same matatus within the same systems. But don't forget, the stage now is no longer the place, Sio Ishimo. The stage now are the apartment buildings, and the people that I need to sell this idea to are the landlords, not the tenants. Are the landlords and not the tenants. And I want to sell the idea that it can work and it can create a solution to these people. And I'm moving it away from the swivel model. So again, if you look at this whole idea, this is different because I'm looking at the same thing, but in a different way. And I'm thinking of it holistically. And we say entrepreneurship is not about making a quick buck just to survive. Don't do that. Come up with an idea so big that if it was going to work, then the benefit to you is so immense that it was worth it in the end. I will repeat. You come up with an idea. Do not think of an idea of coming up with a butchery. This is something that we have seen each and every day. But if you could come up with a way that you can do the same thing differently under this model, then make it big enough so that if it was going to work, then you are set for life. Then this is very, very good for you. Very, very good for you. So before I forget, let me just do a recap of this whole thing. The first thing is, think of something that you have a skill on. That's 1. 2, think of a thing that you lose track of time. 3, think of a problem and a solution, or same thing that we are doing and you can do it differently. And an example is this. Now in the next video, I'll be talking about how to pre-validate, and we'll just do a recap of this idea. So let's go to the next video. Thank you so much.